Graph the following polynomial. F of x equals 2x times the quantity x minus 3 times the quantity x plus 2. Okay, so to draw a decent graph of this polynomial, the only thing that we're really concerned with is the end behavior of the graph and the location of zeros and multiplicity, if there is any. So in order to draw this graph, we first need to identify the zeros. Because if they happen to be real zeros, so they're not imaginary, that is, then these are also locations of x-intercepts, which gets us on our way to drawing a graph. So we get a 0 from this first factor, which is just 0 itself. The second factor is x minus 3, so it has a 0 of 3. The third factor gives us a 0 of negative 2. So we plot these points. So negative 2, 0, and 3. Now, there are 3 zeros, so there's an odd number of zeros. That tells me, the zeros tells you the degree, so this tells me that I have an odd degree polynomial. And if I have an odd degree polynomial, and the leading term coefficient here is 2, so the leading term coefficient is greater than 0, then this end behavior is going to look just like the graph x cubed. So it would start in the negative and end in the positive. Now it doesn't say what's going to happen locally. We'll handle that, but this is what it would look like in the end. So my graph is probably going to start down here in the negative direction, come up, pass through this point, turn so it can come down through this point, turn again so that it can go up through this point, and on to positive infinity. Now, the question is, what happens at these valleys and peaks here? I didn't really take that into consideration, and that's okay. That's not something that we're particularly concerned with at this point. You can't really determine exactly what those are until you have learned some calculus. So at this point, just simply draw the correct shape through the right zeros and you're all set. And you can, of course, graph this polynomial if you want to check it. So if I put it into the calculator, 2x times x minus 3 times x plus 2. If I graph that, I've got the same basic shape, but as you can see, the peak is definitely a lot higher than what I drew, and this valley is a lot lower than what I drew, but like I said, that's okay. It's not what we're interested in determining at this point.